right. I think we're just about ready. Let's see. Hopefully we will not have any glitches in the internet today. I'll set up my alternative in case there is a glitch. Have that ready to go. All right. Oops. Oh, wrong camera. That's my deities. Anyway. Microphone. Okay. Okay, we're set up. Seem to be set up by Krishna's grace. Let's switch the videos. And there I am. All right, or this material body. So, okay, instead of Jayavrata Madhava, we'll have a little dance performance. Again, this is just an excerpt from Mangala Arti this morning that's on my Facebook page if you actually want to see the whole Mangala Arti. You're invited to attend Mangala Arti every morning. It's on my Facebook page and on my YouTube channel. YouTube channel is Beer Krishna Goswami. Facebook page is bkgoswami Das. So it's going to be live on both things as well as Mayapur TV. So here's a little excerpt. We're going to share the screen and share the audio and share the video. Hold on a second. You get a chance to see Radha Golokananda. All right, we are ready to go. Oops. Ready to roll. Start in the middle. Hey, Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parabhadakacharya. Also Tada Sutashi Shimad, His Divine Grace Savaya Chalanara Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Anantakoti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Friends, say Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha, Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Krishna, Gopi Gopinath, Shyam Kunda, Radhakunda, Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Vrindavanam Ki Jai, Maturadam Ki Jai, Jagannathaswami Ki Jai, Munamai Ki Jai, Shrimati Lasi Devi Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Gaur. All glories the assembled devotees, all glories the assembled devotees, all glories the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale. Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharane. Nivashesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deja Tarane Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So Om Ganatimiranda Shah Gananjana Shalakya Chakshurun Meditam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So I offer my respectful obeisances under the lotus feet of my spiritual master, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who so kindly opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge while I was blinded in the darkness of ignorance. So, we're going to go on to the Caitanya Charitamrta. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya. Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Okay, so now we will go to the Caitanya Charitamrita. So as I mentioned before, we have Mangalarti every morning. Every morning it's at 4:30 Eastern Standard Time, uh, which is actually late in Australia, New Zealand, and Fiji, but in Europe it's ideal for you all. Okay, let's share the screen. And, oh, actually I have to stop the share because I forgot one particular thing. All right, let's do it again. Share the screen. There we go. That's working. And so we're going to continue reading from the fourth chapter of the Caitanya Caritamrta, dealing with the esoteric reasons for the Lord's advent in this world. The Lord referring to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And let me see who's going to raise their hands and get a chance to read. Anyone who wants to get a chance to read, you can raise your hand, but I am going to read first without raising my hand. You have special blessings. Okay. Sureshanam Durgam Gatir Atisheno Panashadam Muninam Sarvaswam Pramata Patalinam Madurim Va Viniryasa Premno Nikila Pashu Apalam Bujadrisham Sachi Drishor Yashati Patam. Lord Chaitanya is the shelter of the demigods, the goal of the Upanishads, the be-all and end-all of all. Oops, let's see. I got a message from something here. Oh, I don't want to do that. Hold on a second. Let me change. It's going to be a 1 second pause. Okay. Should be on now. Okay, so let's say continue. They might have been there because I was just changing networks. Lord Chaitanya is the shelter of the demigods, the goal of the Upanishads, the be-all and end-all of the great sages, the beautiful shelter of his devotees, and the essence of love of the lotus-eyed gopis. Will he again be the object of my vision? Text 52. Aparam kasyapi pranay jana vrindasya kutuki rasastomam ritva maduram upavoktam kamapiyaha rucham swamavavre dutim iha tadiyam prakatayan sadevas chaitanya kritir atitaramna kripayatu. Lord Krishna desired to taste the limitless nectarian mellows of the love of his multitude of loving damsels, Sri Radha, and so he has assumed the form of Lord Chaitanya. He has tasted that love while hiding his own dark complexion with a refulgent yellow color. May that Lord Chaitanya confer upon us his grace. So purport text 51 and 52 are respectively Pratama Chaitanyashtaka 2 and Dvitiya Sri Chaitanyashtaka 3 from the Stavamala of Srila Rupa Goswami. Baba Grahanera Hitu Kaila Dharma Stapan Taramukya Hitu Kahi Shunasarvajan. To accept ecstatic love is the main reason he appeared and reestablished the religious system for the sage. I shall now explain that reason. Everyone, please listen. Mula hetu age shlokera koela rabas, eve kahi se shlokera artha prakash. having first given hints about the verse describing the principal reason why the Lord appeared. I shall now manifest its full meaning. Text 55. Shri Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikriti Ladini Shakti Razmad. It's a famous verse. Ekatmanavapi bhuvi pura deha vedam gatau tau. Chaitanyakyam prakatam aduna tadvayam jakyam aptam. Radha Bhavadyuti suvalitam nomi Krishna sarupam. The loving affairs of Sri Radha and Krishna are transcendental manifestations of the Lord's internal pleasure-giving potency. Although Radha and Krishna are one in their identity, they separated themselves eternally. Now these two transcendental identities have again united in the form of Sri Krishna Caitanya. I bow down to him who has manifested himself with the sentiment and complexion of Srimati Radharani, although he is Krishna himself. This text is from the diary of Srila Swarup Damodar Goswami, who happens to be Lalita in Krishna's pastimes. It appears as the fifth of the first 14 verses of Sri Caitanya Caritamrta. Radha Krishna Ekatma Dvideha Dati Anyonye Vilase Rasa Ashvadana Kari. Radha and Krishna are one and the same, but they've assumed two bodies. Thus they enjoy each other tasting the mellows of love. So, purport. The two transcendentalists, Radha and Krishna, are a puzzle to materialists. The above description of Radha and Krishna from the diary of Srila Swarup Damodar Goswami is a condensed explanation, but one needs great spiritual insight to understand the mystery of these two personalities. One is enjoying in two. Shri Krishna is the potent factor, and Srimati Radharani is the internal potency. According to Vedanta philosophy, there's no difference between the potent and the potency. They are identical. We cannot differentiate between one and the other any more than we can separate fire from heat. Everything in the absolute is inconceivable in relative existence. Therefore, in relative cognizance, that means awareness, for those of you who don't know what that word means, it is very difficult to assimilate. Assimilate means digest, understand. This truth of oneness between the potent and the potency, in other words, the energetic person and the energy. The philosophy of inconceivable, achinsya, oneness and difference, propounded by Lord Caitanya, is the only source of understanding for such intricacies of transcendence. In fact, Radharani is the internal potency of Sri Krishna, and she eternally intensifies the pleasure of Sri Krishna. Impersonalists cannot understand this without the help of a Maha Bhagavad devotee. The very name Radha suggests that Srimati Radharani is eternally the topmost mistress of the comforts of Sri Krishna. As such, she is the medium transmitting the living entity's service to Sri Krishna. Devotees in Vrindavan therefore seek the mercy of Srimati Radharani in order to be recognized as loving servitors of Sri Krishna. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally approaches the fallen conditioned souls of the Iron Age to deliver the highest principle of transcendental relationships with the Lord. The activities of Lord Chaitanya are primarily in the role of the pleasure-giving portion of his internal potency. In other words, primarily in the role of Srimati Radharani. The absolute personality of Godhead Sri Krishna is the omnipotent form of transcendental existence, knowledge, and bliss. That's Satchidananda, in case you haven't figured that out in full. His internal potency is exhibited first as Sat, or existence, or in other words, as the portion that expands the existence function of the Lord. When the same potency displays full knowledge, it is called Chit, or Sambit, which is the cognitive potency of the Lord, the knowing potency of the Lord, which expands the transcendental forms of the Lord. Finally, when the same potency plays as a pleasure-giving medium, it is known as Ladini, or Ananda, or the transcendental blissful potency. Thus, the Lord manifests his internal potency in three transcendental divisions: Sat, Chit, and Ananda: eternity, knowledge, and bliss. Now, I want to address a very important question that we get quite often. And that question is God or the absolute truth a male or a female? Prabhupada was asked that question one time, and it's very interesting. Instead of referring to Radha and Krishna, Prabhupada referred to Mohini Murti, which is quite interesting. Usually I would refer to Radha and Krishna. I say the absolute truth has a male aspect and a female aspect, and that's Radha and Krishna, okay, or Lakshmi Narayan, or Sita Ram, or any of the Nrsinga, Lakshmi Nrsinga. But Prabhupada answered in such an interesting way. He said the absolute truth appears as a female sometimes, and that Mohini Murti. And that's a wonderful incarnation, very interesting incarnation of the Lord. And this Mohini Murti, Mohini means to bewilder, came down to bewilder the demons simply to give up the nectar of immortality. And even she bewildered Lord Shiva, who chased over the whole world trying to catch her. And of course, we know Krishna is called Madan Mohan Mohini. Actually, Radharani is called Madan Mohan Mohini. And Krishna is called Madan Mohan, which means the attractor of the bewildering feature of this world, or the attractor of Cupid. And then Madan Mohan Mohini is the name of Srimati Radharani, who attracts the attractor of Cupid. So anyway, so we have a complete understanding of the absolute truth, much more than any of these Western religions, which are basically pretty chauvinistic. Krishna consciousness is not a chauvinistic presentation. We do not say that men are more Krishna conscious than women, or only men can be gurus, or only men could be leaders, or only men can be pure devotees, or the highest is a man. No, we say that higher than Krishna, maybe not ontologically, but higher as far as being able to be the supreme controller, is Radharani. So we have a complete understanding of the absolute, whereas everyone else, other than those who accept Srimati Radharani, they have an incomplete understanding of the absolute truth. All right, let's continue. Sedviyeka eva Caitanya Goshai rasa avat ashvadite dom he haila eka tanai. Now to enjoy ras, they've appeared in one body as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Radha and Krishna appear as one. Sometimes it's described that Krishna takes the mood of Radharani, and sometimes it says that they appear in one body as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now, how is that? Well, when Krishna takes the mood of Radharani, he accepts the transcendental form of Radharani too. How to understand that? Because these are spiritual entities. The Supreme Lord is the primary spiritual entity. His body is not different than himself, than his consciousness, than his desires. This material world of duality and triality and quadrality and what else would there be? Syncology. Quad. Anyway, you get the rest of it. But in this material world of all those different ologies, you know, triology, quadology, decology, which is 10, decology. So there's always these differences. You understand? There's differences between me and my mind, me and my desires, me and my future, me, me and my senses, me and my body. I mean, all these, it's not only a duality, it's like all these like differences. We are split personalities. However, in the spiritual world, Krishna is the same as his desires, Krishna is the same as his senses. All the senses are interchangeable. And when you got a spiritual body, you have the same opulences. Just like it's described in the Brahma Samhita. Angani Asha Shikalendriya Driti Bhanti. That the Lord has interchangeable senses. He can see with his ears, he can hear with his mouth, he can see with his nose, he can see with his hands. So, how is that? Because the bodies in the spiritual world are not different than the self. They're pure consciousness, and they're not limited by material arrangements. Our body is limited. For example, I can only see with my eyes because only the eyes have the optic nerve, have all the other things like that are built in, and it's connected to the brain in such a way, and the part of the brain that's meant for seeing. That's why. It's all conditioned. We're conditioned. I can only see when there's light. I can't see when there's dark. So these are imperfect senses. Okay, read another verse or so, and then we'll go on to other people. Iti lage arikari tara ivaran. Yahite haya gorera mahima patan. Therefore, I shall first delineate the position of Radha and Krishna. From that description, the glory of Lord Chaitanya will be known. Text 59. Radhika Hayena Krishnera Panaya Vikar. Swarupa Shakti Ladani Nama Yanhar. Srimati Radharani is the transformation of Krishna's love. She is his internal energy called Radhini. That means the pleasure potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay, so let's go to the next person. I just want to see if there's anybody who hasn't read so far. You want to give everybody an opportunity, not just like have everybody, the same people every night. Well, we just have the same old people. Okay, Sumuk, I guess it's you. You can unmute yourself now if you want.
Jai Gurudev.
Okay, go ahead.
Aladni karaya Krishne anand swadana. Aladnira dwara kare bhaktera poshana. That Aladni energy gives Krishna pleasure and nourishes his devotees. Srila Jiva Goswami has elaborately discussed the Aladni potency in his Kriti Sandarbha. He says that the Vedas clearly state only devotional service can lead one to the personality of Godhead. Only devotional service can help a devotee meet the Supreme Lord face to face. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is attracted by devotional service, and as such, the ultimate supremacy of Vedic knowledge rests in knowing the science of devotional service. What is the particular attraction that makes the Supreme Lord enthusiastic to accept devotional service? And what is the nature of such service? The Vedic scriptures inform us that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Absolute Truth, is self sufficient and that Maya nescience can never influence him at all. As such, the potency that overcomes the Supreme must be purely spiritual. Such a potency cannot be anything of the material manifestation. The bliss enjoyed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot be of material composition like the impersonalist conception of the bliss of Brahman. Devotional service is reciprocation between two, and therefore it cannot be located simply within oneself. Therefore, the bliss of self-realization, Brahmananda, cannot be equated with devotional service. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has three kinds of internal potency, namely the Aladani or pleasure potency, Sandhini or existential potency, and Samvid or cognitive potency. In the Vishnu Puran 1:269, the Lord is addressed as follows: O Lord, you are the support of everything. The three attributes Haladni, Sandhini, and Samvit exist in you as one spiritual energy. But the material modes which cause happiness, misery, and mixtures of the two do not exist in you, for you have no material qualities. Aladini is the personal manifestation of the blissful of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but by which he enjoys pleasure, because the pleasure potency is perpetually present in the Supreme Lord. The theory of the impersonalist that the Lord appears in the material mode of goodness cannot be accepted. The impersonalist conclusion is against the Vedic version that the Lord possesses a transcendental pleasure potency. When the pleasure potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is exhibited by His grace in the person of a devotee, the manifestation is called love of God. Love of God is another epithet of the pleasure potency of the Lord. Therefore, devotional service reciprocated between the Lord and his devotee is an exhibition of the transcendental pleasure potency of the Lord. The potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead that always enriches him with transcendental bliss is not material, but the San- Sankarites Shankarites have accepted it as such because they are ignorant of the identity of the Supreme Lord and his pleasure potency. Those ignorant persons cannot understand the distinction between impersonal spiritual bliss and the variegatedness of the spiritual pleasure potency. The Aladni potency gives the Lord all transcendental pleasure, and the Lord bestows such a potency upon his pure devotee. Text 61. Sachit Ananda Purna Krishnera Sarupa Eka Ichit Shakti Dhare Tina Rupa. Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna's body is eternal, Sat, full of knowledge, Chit, and full of bliss, Ananda. His one spiritual energy manifests three forms. Text 62. Anandamshe aladni sad amshe sandhini chidamshe samvidyare jnana kari mani. Aladni is the aspect of bliss. Sandhini or eternal existence and samvid of cognizance, which is also accepted as knowledge. Purport. In his thesis Bhagavad Sandarbha, verse 1 to 2, Srila Jiva Goswami explains the potencies of the Lord as follows. The transcendental potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by which he maintains his existence, is called Sandhini. The transcendental potency by which he knows himself and causes others to know him is called Samvit. The transcendental potency by which he possesses transcendental bliss and causes his devotees to have bliss is called Haladani. The total exhibition of these potencies is called Vishuddha Sattva, and this platform of spiritual variegatedness is displayed even in the material world. When the Lord appears here, the pastimes and manifestations of the Lord in the material world are therefore not at all material. They belong to the pure transcendental state. Bhagavad Gita confirms that anyone who understands the transcendental nature of the Lord's appearance, activities, and disappearance become eligible for freedom from the material bondage upon quitting the present material tabernacle. He can enter this spiritual kingdom to associate with the Supreme Personality of Godhead and reciprocate the Aladini potency in transactions between him and the Lord. In the mundane mode of goodness, there are tinges of passion and ignorance. Therefore, mundane goodness being mixed is called Mishra Sattva, but the transcendental variegatedness of Vishuddha Sattva is completely free from all mundane qualities. Vishuddha Sattva is therefore the proper atmosphere in which to experience the personality of Godhead and his transcendental pastimes. Spiritual variegatedness is eternally independent of all material conditions and is non-different from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, both being absolute. The Lord and his devotees simultaneously perceive the Aladhani potency directly by the power of samvit. The material modes of
Okay.
nature.
Wait. You can end there. We're going to let Prime Govinda continue at this particular point. Okay, so Prime Govinda, you can unmute yourself now. I just gave you permission. Okay.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to
So,
Prabhupada.
so begin with the material modes of nature.
On 62. The
No,
material modes of nature control the conditioned souls, but the Supreme Personality of Godhead is never influenced by these modes, as all Vedic literature directly or indirectly corroborate. Lord Krishna himself says in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 11.25.12, Sattam Rajas Tama iti Guna Jivasya Naivame. The material modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance are connected with the conditioned souls, but never with me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Vishnu Puran confirmed this as follows. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, is beyond the three qualities goodness, passion, and ignorance. No material qualities exist in him. May that original person, Narayan, who is situated in a completely transcendental position, be pleased with us. In the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 10.20.27.4, Indra praises Krishna as follows. My dear Lord, your abode is Vishuddha Sattva, always undisturbed by the material qualities, and the activities there are in transcendental loving service unto your feet. The goodness, austerities, and penance of the devotees enhance such activities, which are always free from the contamination of passion and ignorance. Material qualities cannot touch you under any circumstances. When not manifested, the modes of material nature are said to be in goodness. When they are extremely manifested and active in producing the varieties of material existence, they are said to be in passion. When there is a lack of activities and variegatedness, they are said to be in ignorance. In other words, the pensive mood is goodness, active is passion. It should be passive mood. It says pensive. Okay.
Activity is passion and inactivity is ignorance.
No, before that, Maharaj, it says pensive. It should be passive.
Pensive means just sitting and pensive and thinking. Pensive means to
Oh,
sit and think.
oh, that's right. That's right. Thank you.
Pensive. When you say that someone is pensive, that means they think a lot. They're just thinking a lot. They're not
Yeah.
simply inactive, but they're thinking.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Activity is passion, inactivity is ignorance. Above all, this mundane qualitative manifestation is Visuddha Sattva. When it is predominated by the Sandhini potency, it is perceivable as the existence of all that be. When predominated by the Sambit potency, it is perceived as knowledge in transcendence. And when predominated by the Ladini potency, it is perceived as the most confidential love of Godhead. Visuddha Sattva, the simultaneous manifestation of these three in one, is the main feature of the kingdom of God. The absolute truth is there.
Stop for a second. I just want to explain this because these are new terms for everybody. You got this Sandini, Samvit, and Ladini. So Sandini, okay, is the existential potency of the Lord. That means that which maintains the spiritual world and maintains the existence of everything. And that's sometimes equated with Sat. Sat means, actually, really, the understanding of Sat is something that always exists, like Nasato Vijate Babo Nabavo Vijate Sataha Ubayorapi Drishtawantas Twanios Tatvadarshibhi. That's what, excuse me, from the Gita, where Krishna says that those things that continue to exist, the Sat things, they're real. And those things that have a beginning and an end, they're considered unreal. So Sat means that which actually, the existence, which continues to exist. Something like Tattva, something that is an eternal, Tattva means, of course, an eternal category, thatness, uh, uh, classification that's eternal. So Sandhani is the maintenance or the existential potency of the Lord. Sambit is what we call the cognitive potency. Cognitive basically means to know. That's how, I think, therefore, cogito ergo sum. Something spoken by Descartes, which means I think, therefore I am. So that's basically what it is. So when Vishuddha Sattva, we're talking about Vishuddha Sattva, means the purified mode of goodness. When it is connected with the Sandhini potency, the existential potency, that Vishuddha Sattva can be seen as that which maintains all existence, the existence of all that be, which is what Prabhupada said here. When you have Vishuddha Sattva manifest, that means purified goodness, not material goodness. When Vishuddha Sattva is manifest, predominated, it says here, by the Sambit of the cognitive potency of the Lord, then Vishuddha Sattva manifests transcendental, pure transcendental knowledge. Try to understand that. That's knowledge and transcendence. And that's basically, putting it in a different way, knowledge, Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojana. For the three branches of that type of knowledge. Sambandha means understanding the tattvas and their relationship with each other. Tattva means things like the material energy, the supreme personality of God, the living entity, time, karma, all those other wonderful things. The illusory energy of the Lord, the spiritual energy of the Lord, etc., and their connection or interactions. So that's sambandha. And then prayojana, abhideya, sorry. Abhideya means how transcendentally, how you reach the topmost position of transcendence. That is bhakti yoga, beginning with Vaidhi bhakti, and then Raganuga bhakti, which is part of sadhana bhakti. And then after that, you can get to the platform of bhava bhakti, and after that, prema bhakti. And prema bhakti is contained within the highest knowledge of transcendence, which is called Sambandha Abhideya Prayojana, the goal. Okay, so anyway, so that's the Samvit potency. And the Ladini potency, Ladini means pleasure, or Ananda, as we say, Ananda, the unlimited pleasure. And this pleasure is love. Sometimes people say God is love, but we say God is loving. And that Ladini potency is personified by Srimati Radharani, which is interesting because the Lord, that is Krishna, doesn't give the Ladini potency, doesn't give bhakti. Bhakti, or the Ladini potency, is given by Krishna's devotees. And this Ladini potency, when one is under the Ladini potency, which is connected with Vishuddha Sattva, the uncontaminated mode of goodness, then you're a pure devotee. Mahatmanastu mam partha daivam prakriti mashrita. Vijanchananya Manasho Gata Bhutadam Abhiyam. See if we get to the end of this. No, let's. So I think we should end here, in the middle of the purport.
Can I ask you a question on that, Maharaj? What
Oh,
you
well, we're
explained?
going to get to questions in a second. We'll
Oh,
let you ask questions. Hold on a second. So we're going to stop sharing, and we're going to allow everybody to ask questions. Okay, so you have a question. Quick, because you got to give other people opportunities to ask questions. Okay, friend Govinda. Question. You can unmute yourself.
sorry.
You can't.
Text 61. It
Yeah.
says that Lord Krishna's body is Satchit Ananda. His
Yeah.
one spiritual energy manifests three forms.
That's right.
So my question is, if his body is made of potency, where is he, the potent?
No, his body manifests those potencies. He's the emanator. And his body is pure Satchidananda, as is everybody's body is pure Satchidananda. And we are his parts and parcels, and because we're his parts and parcels, our body is Satchidananda too. But it's not that he is different from his body. In other words, that's the question you're raising right now.
Yes.
His body is not his energy. His body manifests the energy of Satchidananda and is Satchidananda. He is Satchidananda. He is Satchidananda. His body is Satchidananda. He's not different from his body. It's not that the Lord possesses a body. The Lord is his body. And his body, himself, his desires are all, this is what we described in the beginning, are all non-different. There's no duality, triality, quadrality, or quintology. I got the fifth one there.
But Maharaj, subject and subjective, potent and potency, there are eternally distinction in order to relish the rasa.
That is Krishna and Radha. That's a description of Krishna and Radha. That's not Krishna and his body.
That's correct, but his body is made of these three potencies. So where is he?
His body is these three potencies. We could use the expression made. Sometimes we say Krishna's body is made of Satchidananda, but his body is Satchidananda. I think that's the lack of the use of English words.
I see.
When you try to translate from Sanskrit to English, sometimes it takes two or three words to explain the same particular concept that you had in Sanskrit, and sometimes you can't even explain it. His body is Satchidananda. It's not that, someone brought a little bit of Sat, a little bit of Chit, and a little bit of Ananda, and you built it up like, you ever play with Legos?
Yes.
You know what Legos. When I was young, we had these really, I think it's called Legos, where you have these little things with holes in them and you put them all together.
Yes, Maharaj.
And so that's not how Krishna's body is. Krishna's body is Satchidananda. When we use the expression made, it doesn't mean, they took some Satchidananda and put together Krishna's body or Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. It's composed, but it's not made. It was never made. It's eternal. And Krishna is eternal. And Krishna is non-different from his body. And we are non-different from our spiritual bodies, too. We are Satchidananda. But right now, because we're a tiny Satchidananda, we're covered up by Krishna's illusory potency. Mama Maya Dharachya, Manashakstani Indriyani Prakriti Stani Karshate, Mami Vangsa Jiva Loke, Jiva Bhuta Sanatana, Manashakstani Indriyani Prakriti Stani Karshate. Okay, let someone else ask a question. Question. Uh-oh. If you don't ask a question, Prangovinda is going to ask another one.
Sure, Maharaj. If no
No,
one
no,
has.
no, 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 no. We got to give someone else an opportunity.
Okay.
You're getting as bad as Praneshwara was.
I'll ask a question if you like, Gurudev.
Yeah. Okay. Ask the question, Mayapur Chandra.
So, who's more beautiful, Radharani or Mohini Murti?
Ah! Radharani, because she attracts Krishna. Because Mohini Murti doesn't attract Krishna. Gotcha.
That's a good one. Thank you.
But Krishna attracts himself too. There's stories. Well, that's actually why Krishna actually takes up the mood of Srimati Radharani, because he's attracted to himself. Krishna sometimes would look at a reflection of himself in a body of water and just look, oh, who is that attractive young boy? There's actually a story in Greek mythology about someone named Narcissus. Has anyone heard that story before? Any students here of Greek mythology? Anyway, I'll tell that story. It has nothing to do with Krishna consciousness, but we'll tell it anyway. Once upon a time, there was this guy named Narcissus. And for those of you who don't know what Narcissus complex is, that means someone who really is in love with themselves. And there's a politician who's like that too, which shall remain nameless to protect the innocent. Anyway, there's this guy named Narcissus, and he was in love with himself, and he came by a lake and he looked. He had a girlfriend, actually, and his girlfriend's name was Echo. So what happened? This is just Greek mythology. It's nothing. Don't quote this as shastric. Just a story. So he kept looking at his reflection in a body of water, and his girlfriend just got really depressed because she couldn't see the poor guy anymore. Let me just look at the chat window while we're doing this. And so all she could do was echo. Yeah, she's a Greek goddess named Echo and Narcissus. Narcissus. So don't be like Narcissus. Don't have a narcissistic complex. Mirror, mirror on the wall. Who's the nicest sannyasi of them all? All right, so
I have a question,
so
Guru Maharaj.
oh, Kishori. Oh, you're
Hare
the Guru Maharaj, Kishori.
Oh, no, you are. First of all, just I find it interesting that there is Krishna has three energies: the internal, external, and the middle, and that the external energy has, and that the internal energy has Sachidananda. So it's interesting. I find that interesting, and also, just to clarify, so my understanding is that Krishna's body is made of the Samvit potency and Radharani is the Ladini potency. Is that right?
No, Krishna's body is Satchidananda. Ishwara,
Entirely.
yeah, that's the
That's
first verse in the. It's
Dharma
not.
Samhita.
We use the expression Meda. In the Brahma Samhita, it says Ishwara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha. Ananda
Hmm.
is also Ladini, but the specific Ladini potency is under the jurisdiction of Radharani. She's the personification of Ladini potency, but she also has a body made of Satchidananda.
Hmm.
I mean, her body is Satchidananda. I hate to use that,
Hmm.
because that was pointed out by Pran Govinda that when we say it's made of, naturally you think, someone put together the ingredients, but her body is Satchidananda. Krishna's body is Satchidananda. Your body is Satchidananda, not your material body. The material body is Asat, Achit, and Nirananda, which is
Hmm.
the opposite, which means temporary, ignorant, and completely miserable. But we don't say that Radharani's body is composed of the Ladini Shakti. Radharani is the Ladini Shakti, personification of the Ladini Shakti, but her body is also eternity, bliss, and knowledge. Everybody's body in the spiritual world is eternity, bliss, and knowledge. Not only Radharani, not only Krishna, but your spiritual body.
Mhm.
And the one you have right now that you've forgotten.
Okay.
You've
Thank you very
forgotten,
much, Guru Maharaj.
you've forgotten, and you think that you're a doctor in Australia.
No, I don't.
You can't. You can't even get your Guru Maharaj a vaccine. So anyway, so he can
Sorry to
travel
hear you
by.
haven't received it yet. Hopefully soon for you.
No, I've been trying to get it. My doctor says I'm in too good a health to get it.
Oh no.
So
Okay.
I'm
Some of my doctors.
trying to convince my doctor that I'm sick. Or no, I'm trying to convince the doctor that there are a lot of Sikh devotees in the temple, so I'm caring for them. So they have to give me the vaccine.
All the best. Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Okay, who else?
Gurudev, this Adidev Das.
Adi Dave. Okay, so what's the question?
So, we know that the body is Sachitananda Vigraha, but sometimes I read somewhere that Krishna is a presiding deity of Samvit, and Balram is presiding of Sandini, and
Sandini,
Radharani.
yeah, presiding deity, and Radharani is Ladini, right?
So, so what does it mean? Like their body is Sachitananda Vigraha, but
Yeah,
again we have different.
the body of everybody in the spiritual world is Satchitananda. Vigraham just means body, form. Vigraha means form. So rather than say a body of Satchitananda Vigraha, they have a body of Satchitananda or Satchitananda. Anyway, so it's just that Krishna, Krishna controls, or Krishna controls everything. Everybody. He's Ishwara Parama Krishna. But Krishna has put these specific energies under different devotees' control. Like Radharani controls the Ladini Shakti. She is a personification of Ladini Shakti. She's Bhakti Shakti. So, but her transcendental form is Satchitananda. Does that make sense or no? You still there?
Yeah. If you think separately, like it makes sense. But if you
It's
try
just
to
like
connect,
saying that I am GBC. That's not my identity. It's just the service that I have. You say, "Yo, Guru Maharaj is GBC." Well, if you look at my body, it's not GBC. So Krishna, Radharani manifests the Ladini Shakti, although she has her body is Satchitananda, like everybody's in the spiritual world. And Balaram manifests the existential. This existential potency, the Sandini potency, and Krishna is Samvit. Anyway, it's just it's like Radharani. Yeah, Radharani is in charge of Ladini Shakti, but that doesn't mean she doesn't have the other aspects of eternity and knowledge within her purview, within her existence.
so can we say that Satchit Ananda, it is a composition of the body, but whereas Aladini, Samvit, and Sandini are Shaktis, which are
That's right.
which
Yeah,
are the
that's right.
functions, which are the
That's
functions
right.
of
Well,
the body.
not the consciousness. No, which are control. I would say, but lack of better word, controlled or manifest by those particular personalities under their jurisdiction. Let's use the word under their jurisdiction.
Okay.
Of course, ultimately everything is under Krishna's jurisdiction. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadir Radir Govinda Sarvakarana Karana. Ultimately, but Krishna puts different, let's say, different energies under different devote, just like the demigods, for example. You have different energies in the material world, let's say the fire or lightning or wind under different predominating deities. That doesn't mean those predominating deities are fire or wind. That means those predominating deities are in charge of that particular aspect in the material world. So spiritually, it works the same way. That ultimately, Krishna is the supreme controller. Okay, so here's a question, final question on the
Thank you,
chat
Prabhu.
window. Who was more merciful, Lord Krishna or Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Well, what do you think? Let's see who questioned. But Sumuk. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Namo Mahapranyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gora Say Namaha. However, Lord Chaitanya is Krishna, but he's in a more merciful mood than Krishna is ordinarily. Because Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita says, surrender to me, give up all varieties of religiosity, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Dinahina Yata Chilo, Purina Mudurhilo, just take to the chanting of Hare Krishna whether you are fallen or elevated. So that's Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Okay, I think we have to end now. It's nice seeing everybody online, and we didn't have any trouble with the internet tonight, thank God. All glories to His divine grace, Srila Prabhupada. See everybody tomorrow night. Srila Prabhupada ki